there. Gary Parrish, welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do to the like button. Shouts to Brandon Davies. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel, please also do that while you're here. Let's get into it. I'm in Annapolis, Maryland for the Veterans Classic. That's going to be Friday night on CBS Sports Network. First, VCU Boston College, then Harvard Navy. Again, both games, CBS Sports Network. I'm going to be on the sideline, and that's why we're coming to you on Thursday night instead of a usual Friday morning, because I have to be at shoot-arounds all day Friday, starting at like 9 a.m. So I hope everybody's having a good Thursday night. Appreciate you being here. Norlander, I think we'll start on the main line, as they say, where Villanova is now 1-1 after suffering a 10-point loss at home to Columbia. As I pointed out on Twitter, Columbia entered the game ranked 217th at KenPom, making this the 7th loss for Cal Neptune to a sub-100 KenPom team in 2 years and 2 games at Villanova. For some context, understand that Jay Wright, our colleague, only lost 2 such games in the final 9 years he spent on the sideline at Villanova. Again, Cal Neptune now has 7 in 2 years and 2 games. He's just 18-7 at Villanova against sub-100 KenPom teams. Before retiring, Jay Wright won 22 straight against sub-100 KenPom teams, 22-0, but Cal Neptune just 18-7 in such games. Norlander, I think you'd agree, as of this moment, no prominent basketball coach at a prominent program has a seat hotter than the one belonging to Cal Neptune right now.
Definitely not. Although you are, I understand what you're doing there. I wonder, I didn't look. I'm just wondering. So Jay Wright year, and to be clear, I'm not going to say Kyle Neptune can go on to have the career of Jay Wright, and this was a different era. Jay Wright year 1 loses to LaSalle. Penn was actually highly rated that season, but lost at Penn. Both of those were overtime games. Finished 19-13. Nothing else egregious. I'm just looking through this here as we do this, GP. And then year 2 of Jay Wright loses to College of Charleston outside the top 100 that season. Lost to West Virginia, which was outside the top 100. Lost to Virginia Tech, which was 141. Lost to Siena, went 15-16. And then year 3, Jay Wright lost to Chaminade. How about that? Lost to Chaminade going to play in Maui. But the rest of the schedule, Miami ranked 110th at KenPom that season, released at the time of the game. Interesting. Neptune's obviously had it way worse than this. He's 36-34 at this point in his career, and this is exactly what you cannot have. He is the coach right now that is on a hotter seat than anyone in college basketball. It is the latest example, and it's not just a loss to a mid-major, although there's been plenty of those, even going back to year 1 when they lost to Portland. They were out there for PK 85. But Columbia, it's not even like Columbia was Princeton or even Yale, like the top 2 teams in the Ivy League. Columbia was picked 5th in the Ivy League. It hasn't had an above 500 season in 8 years. It hadn't started 2-0 in a season, the Columbia Bears, against 2 Division I opponents in 19 years. And they scored 90. I mean, they scored 90 in this game. I was score tracking, and then with about 16 minutes to go in the second half, it was time to bring it up and to dial in there. And what I saw was a Columbia team that was giving more consistent effort, playing smarter basketball, was also very good from the foul line, which ended up being ultimately pretty crucial. Columbia was able to hit 24 out of 26 free throws. Now, Villanova went 15 for 17, but you notice the difference there being 9 made foul shots, and it was a 10-point margin at the end of it. Credit to the Bears for being able to, that's a huge moment for any program of that level. Jim Ingles has done, an up and down job since he got that gig. Columbia's been a non-factor, but you get a win like this, no matter the state of the program and how you get it, that means a ton. But the story here is obviously Villanova, which was 20th at KenPom to start the season. You and I didn't agree with that, but regardless, that's where it was. And now it's, as we speak here, is it down to 59? Yeah, I think it was, for whatever reason, maybe results have trickled in. I want to say it dropped to 60, but regardless, it's 59 right now. And Kyle Neptune, they've got a home game Friday against NJIT. Knock on wood, you don't want to presume anything, but you would think they would get that win. But then they got to play at St. Joe's next Tuesday. Now, St. Joe's probably isn't the first or second best team in the A10, but it could be the third best team. It might be the fourth or fifth best team, but they got a couple of really good guards on that roster. And Villanova, Eric Dixon, God bless him, because he is a Villanova guy through and through. I do think he's one of the 30 or so best players in the sport. He had 33 points in this game, but he's going to need more help and more consistency. And one person who knows Neptune and reached out to me on Wednesday night, put it plainly and just said, doesn't have the mojo. Like, the program doesn't have it. Whatever Neptune's doing clearly isn't working. And here we are. I really didn't think that we would be opening a podcast in the first week of the season talking about a program, any program whose coach was suddenly pretty violently in the crosshairs. But that's what it is. As I said and wrote on Wednesday, every alarm siren is blaring right now, and Kyle Neptune needs to find big answers and big fixes as soon as possible, because if we are talking next week and this team has a second loss, no matter how it comes, that fan base obviously has no patience at this point, and the fall is unbelievable. For him to have taken a job that was, in my estimation, we talked about it in that Final Four, Villanova, a blue blood program, and had done enough. If you look historically what it had done, I thought that even by making that Final Four under Jay Wright, it really, cemented that status. But even if you want to say it was just shy of that, Villanova was operating like a top 5 program in the sport. It was one of the 3 most successful programs in the 2010s. And now to see where it is, 70 games later, where it is flirting with outright purgatory is truly unbelievable. And we'll see if Neptune can get it turned around. But to this point, there is nothing to suggest that would happen.
Yeah, it's in a bad spot right now. It's fine to compare Kyle's first 2 years to Jay's first 2 years. I think it's well documented. Jay was maybe one more bad year away from getting moved out of there. But the truth is, Jay did not take over the same program Kyle Neptune took over.
Also true.
Kyle took over a program that had made 9 straight NCAA tournament appearances, and 2 of those appearances resulted in national championships. Beyond that, Jay handed him a top 20 team. Like, you ready? John Calipari left Mark Pope nothing. Eric Musselman left John Calipari nothing. That is typically the way coaching changes go down these days. You're just starting from scratch. Kyle didn't start from scratch. Jay worked to keep that recruiting class together and to keep that team together. And he had a preseason top 20 team, and then, ran it outside of the top 50. Again, 9 straight NCAA tournament appearances in Jay's, as Jay closed his career at Villanova. 2 of them result in national championships. Since then, Villanova is 0-2 attempting to make the NCAA tournament, despite being top 25 at KenPom in each preseason. More specifically, 2 seasons ago, they were 19th at KenPom to start, finished 51st. Last year, started 23rd, finished 37th. This year, started 20th, already down to 59. Year 1 for Cal, this is just another way to highlight it. Picked 3rd in the Big East preseason poll, finished tied for 6th. Last season, picked 4th in the Big East preseason poll, finished tied for 6th again. Like, no matter how you chop it up, it's not there. And so this isn't fun. I want to be clear about that. Nobody likes talking about this stuff. I don't know Kyle well, but I do know him, and I've talked to him. And our colleague Chris Walker, a Villanova alum, works with us at CBS Sports Network, does CBS Sports HQ. Like, he and Kyle are very close. Like, nobody's laughing about this or having fun with it. I hope that's clear. We're talking about a man's livelihood. That's never fun. But the downside of getting a job like this, the good side is obvious. You're inheriting a top 20 team, a blue blood program. You just got to keep it on the tracks. But the problem is, if you can't or you don't, you don't get a long time to prove yourself. And if year 3 does not turn around, and by turn around I mean Villanova safely makes the NCAA tournament, I think it's reasonable to assume there will not be a year 4.
Yeah, I think Villanova has to make the tournament. I had someone connected to the program suggest to me making the tournament might not even be enough. You might need to get a win there, whatever. There's someone asked if Neptune could even be fired midseason. Villanova doesn't have an athletic director currently, a full-time one. Mark Jackson, who hired Kyle Neptune, took the Northwestern job. So I don't know. I don't know. If it gets bad enough, I think the Villanova fan base will probably demand it, and the fan base would be right to do so, because Villanova had attained a certain status in the sport that I think only a certain few people truly believe that they could have gotten there, not just by nature of winning 2 national titles, although that was a lot of it. You look at the NBA, the players they put in the NBA, and frankly, a lot of those players are still relevant. So there's still this connective tissue between what Villanova was under Jay Wright during the best years and how there's an extension of that into the NBA. And dominating the Big East before UConn came on back in, and now we know UConn's the big dog there, pun intended. But if it gets ugly enough, I guess it's conceivable. Villanova does strike me a little bit like my Chicago Bears, and by that I say I've had plenty of frustrations with head coaches with the Bears over the years, but that ownership group flat out will never fire a head coach in the middle of a season. Just will not do it. That ownership goes back to literally George Halas, who helped form the NFL, and people in his lineage still are the owners of that franchise there. Villanova in some ways strikes me to be of similar ilk, particularly because of how close, Kyle obviously served under Jay Wright for a long time. Jay is still involved with the program there and obviously had a say in Kyle getting hired. So, I mean, if it totally implodes, possibly. Yeah. Louisville didn't do it to Kenny Payne, and you and I talked about that on multiple episodes a year ago, why it would be in Louisville's best interest. I would lean that probably Kyle's going to make it to the end of the season, regardless how bad it gets. Maybe it turns it around and he holds on to his job. But I know this is going to – you lose to Columbia, and this question immediately gets on the table. This is a total wait and see in the fact that they don't have a full-time athletic director currently. If not complicates it, makes it less likely than not that would happen, in my opinion.
There are some people in our industry who just flat believe you should never fire a college coach in the middle of the season. I don't subscribe to that. It often doesn't make a real difference. That's the truth, but it can make a difference. It did last season at Ohio State, and it wasn't clear to me that it would, because Chris Holtmann is a great college basketball coach, but something just had disconnected between he and that roster. And Jake Diebler was able to tap back into it and relatively speaking, turn that season around. Did enough with the exact same roster to secure the job on a full-time basis. So we'll see where the season goes. But if I am in charge at Villanova and I ever look out there for a 2-week span, and it's not just that we're getting beat by UConn and losing to Creighton, but the guys have quit. Like they're just not in it anymore. Mm-hmm. And whatever needs to be there from a passion perspective just is obviously not there. Then I think you pull the trigger and you promote somebody from the staff and just see if somebody else can tap into the roster, because the roster is good enough to go to the NCAA tournament. The question is whether, and I say this respectfully, but is Cal Neptune good enough to get it there?
Yeah, we wait and see. Plenty of doings, by the way, though, in the Big East GP. Nova, not so good, but man, there's been a lot of talking points, in my opinion, to come out of the first few days in that league to start the season.
Yeah, big performance on Wednesday night. Ryan Kalkbrenner at Creighton had one of the greatest season openers in college basketball history. 49 points on 22 shots. Incredible stuff. We'll talk about that next. Happier subject. First, a word from our partners.
Saturdays at 3:30. It's big time. Will the Hoosiers keep their undefeated season and playoff hopes alive when they host defending champs Michigan? Saturday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
So Ryan Kalkbrenner had one of the greatest season openers in college basketball history. It came against UT Rio Grande Valley. He's a fifth-year senior, took 22 shots, made 20 of them, finished with 49 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks, and a 99-86 victory. Just to hammer home how unusual this type of thing is, he set the school record at Creighton for most field goals in a game, scored more points in a game than any Creighton player since a fellow named Bob Portman got 51 against Milwaukee back in 1967. And Ryan Kalkbrenner, and this is the one that's just wild, he becomes the first Division I player with 20 made field goals in a game and at least 90% shooting from the field since Bill Walton.
An all-time classic performance, by the way, against Memphis State in the 73 title game.
Went 21-22 from the field against the Memphis State Tigers in the championship game 73 NCAA tournament. That is what Ryan Kalkbrenner did on Wednesday night.
So it's tremendous. There's a few things off this game. One, Creighton was in a battle. Now, eventually, like the final score, it wasn't razor thin or anything like that, but they needed all 49 from Kalkbrenner, and I didn't anticipate that to necessarily be the case there. So just keep an eye on it, I guess. They win 99-86 over UT RGV, which is formerly UT Rio Grande Valley, but I believe they prefer just the UT RGV. Why not?
I'll call them whatever I want.
Yeah, you know what? I empower you to do so. So the defense, we'll see, which is also ironic because Kalkbrenner could well be the best defender in the country this season. And on that note, if you're a Creighton fan, tuning in, more than happy to give you guys some love here. And if you're a Big East fan, like Kalkbrenner being good is not a surprise. He was number 5 on our top 101 players list last year. And then he was 4 this year. He was number 2 on my ballot when we had to hand in our ballots. And the way we do that is we all individually, without consulting each other, at least I don't consult anyone, hand in top 100 list. And we don't know how anyone votes. I had Mark Sears 1. I had Ryan Kalkbrenner 2. And part of why I put him so high was one, I thought he would be the best defender in the country this season. And in talking to some folks, apparently the jump he had made and the work he had put in from day one of saying I'm coming back on the offensive end was noticeable. Now, did I think he was going for 40 at any point this season? No. We talked about Cam on our previous episode. We put our predictions in for how many 40 pieces Cam Jones and Marquette would go for. I think you had 2 and I had 3. Kalkbrenner might even challenge him for that. That's a big time deal there. And it wasn't just that. Stephen Ashworth also, he had 25 points, 7 boards, 7 dimes. I had him on my top 101 ballot, but I don't think he made our main list this season. It was the 5th most points by any player, Big East player in any game ever. Just supremely impressive. And then I saw ESPN Stats and Info. Our buddy Jeff Borzellis tweeted this out. If you said it, sorry, I was bringing up something, GP, but I don't think you said this. Kalkbrenner's 49 points are the fourth most ever in a season opener for someone on a ranked team at the time they did it in the history of the AP poll, which goes back to the 50s. The only players that had scored more were Bob Pettit, Lou Alcindor, and Artis Gilmore. Those are like 3 of the defining big men, college or pro, period, for the majority of the previous century. This is Kalkbrenner, I think, is going to be in the mix for National Player of the Year, preseason first team All-American. I think he was for us. I had him there.
He was for us.
Yeah. So again, a really good player, but the offensive jump could be huge. He's not going to put up Edey type numbers, but I think he's going to be at that. He's not here. Let's be clear. He is not the rebounder Edey was and never will be. It's just not who he is and how they use him or how he's wired, whatever it is. His numbers will go up, but he's not going to produce that many boards. At least I don't expect him to. And I don't think McDermott and his staff do either, but to have, and watching the game and thinking about what he did and how awesome it is, and really good for just college basketball to have a relatively well-known player on a team that's consistently highly ranked and making the tournament to do this kind of stuff. Like, that's good for the sport. But you get a big to do this. You get a big to go for, like a big man going for 49 in college basketball. Again, that's from the days of Pettit and Walton and Alcindor and Gilmore, et cetera, and on and on. And yeah, just a really good development for the sport, I think, and for Creighton. Defensively, we wait and see. You wouldn't think they would have been in that tight of a game against UTRGV, but they were. And good on Kalkbrenner. We are just, check my watch here. We're just 3-4 days into the season. But yeah, he is your 5 steps out of the block leader for National Player of the Year.
I don't think it's a coincidence that it's a big. The past 4 National Players of the Year have been bigs.
Well, when's the last time? Here's a curiosity. I don't have this. When's the last time, if we don't get, I'll try and get this by the next episode. When's the last time someone 6'10" or taller went for 45 points or more in a game in men's D1? I don't know.
You had to talk to Jared Burson about that.
I know.
Do I look like Jared Burson?
No,
am I sitting here in Annapolis looking like Jared Burson?
Not the case. Actually, keep rolling. I might drop this in on. I might do a stat request here, see if I can get that. But I'm just curious on that point, because you normally, if you see someone go for 47, 49, 51 in college,
it's gonna be a guard who got hot and hit 9 threes, something like that.
Yeah, that's why.
Okay, sure, fair point. But my point is that the bigs are the best players in college basketball every year now, and the reason is because they have nowhere to go. The NBA doesn't value them, so they come back to school to make $1 million, and they dominate the sport. Luka Garza, your National Player of the Year. Then it was Oscar Tshiebwe, National Player of the Year. Then it was Zach Edey 2 years in a row. And we're 3 days into the season, 4 if you're counting today. Let's not hand Ryan Kalkbrenner a trophy just yet.
I know.
But he has been an awesome college basketball player for multiple years. And in a different era, he'd already be gone. Without NIL, he might already be gone. But these are the types of players, whether it's Kalkbrenner or Hunter Dickinson at Kansas, that are dominating the sport. And I won't be surprised if we look up toward the end of the year and we're talking about a National Player of the Year race that sure has a Mark Sears and an RJ Davis, but multiple traditional bigs as well.
He's not the only one that had a good night, by the way. Let's do a quick tour around. In fact, start with UConn, but we've had some really nice out of the gate performances. Granted, a lot of this is happening against mid-major competition. I get that, but I just don't feel like, GP, I could be wrong, but I don't feel like in the past 3, 4, 5 seasons we've had, I don't know, this many notable, well-rounded stat lines. UConn had no issue with Sacred Heart. They raised the banner, 92-56, they win. But Caravan had 20 points, 7 boards, and 7 block shots in that game. Liam McNeely, the freshman, he had 18 points, 10 rebounds. Solomon Ball had 16. Terrace Reed had 15 and 11, the Michigan transfer, so he had a good showing. But to me, it was Caravan, immediate impact right away on that. I don't even know if you saw or cared to watch much of that game. But
no, I had it on. I saw Dan getting the crowd fired up in the second half, up 30.
Correct. I know.
I love it. I love everything about it. I love everything he does.
I know, without a doubt. But Caravan, preseason All-American, rightfully so, a 2-year starter, and he gets going with. It wasn't like, oh yeah, Caravan was a nice little additional piece. No, he was the guiding force in this game, and a career high 7 swats. To me, that was pretty notable.
Yeah, like they looked the part, and the building was on fire, and it's that's the way it's supposed to look. It was a perfect opening night,
without a doubt. A couple more just to note here. Great Osobor just had a good, I don't know if Washington's going to be good or not, but Great Osobor didn't waste any time being a player. Now, he was the Mountain West Player of the Year, and he's been a good player for a while here, but against UC Davis, in actually what was a tight game, he goes out 15 points, 17 rebounds, 6 steals. He did have 6 turnovers. That was certainly a notable performance from him. And then Mackenzie Mbako had himself a nice little game for Indiana. We wait and see in terms of, all right, if Indiana is going to be good enough, who's going to be the most important player on the roster? Will it be Ballo? Will it be Mbako? Will it be Miles Rice? Will it be Malik Renew? I think there could be a little bit of a rotating cast. They played SIU Edwardsville. They win 80-61, but Mbako, 31 points, 9 boards. That was good work done there, and he certainly stepped up and had a nice night. And then also, in the Big Ten, I neglected to mention this from Monday. Illinois had no issue with Eastern Illinois, but they got a heck of a performance out of freshman Will Riley, who went off. Will Riley had 31 as well, in addition to 7 boards and 3 assists. So no big time work against big time teams, but at the very least, some nice performances kind of across the board. We hit on a bunch of other ones on Monday. 2 more notes here, GP.
Well, just real quick on that, because I think we had noted, I wrote in our dribble handoff today, like the SEC's off to an uneven start. They've already taken 4 losses to 4 unranked teams. The Big Ten is undefeated. And, I did radio in Seattle yesterday, and Washington came up, and it's like Danny's obviously really good. Great as a reigning conference player of the year. But somebody has to finish 18th in the Big Ten. And there's nobody outside of the top 76 in the entire league, but it is Washington that is down there at 76. They are projected, at least by KenPom, to finish last in the league. So there's this weird situation where Danny Sprinkle and Great Osobor might really go from winning a conference championship one year to the very next at a different place, but still together, finishing dead last in a very deep and strong league.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying that's what the numbers show right now.
Yep. News item: Tremont Mark is out indefinitely with right ankle issue. Rodney Terry announced that earlier this week. That just, he's a really, really good player, and Texas will need him, so we don't know when he's coming back. And then I don't know if you've been following this story. Before we get to the Final Four and 1, I do need your take and I do need your thoughts. So, Providence, it got caught in a game to start the season, a game that I guarantee you, Kim English, although Central Connecticut State was a quality team last season that came 1 game away from making the NCAA tournament, the pride of the Northeast Conference, if you will. It goes into the dunk or the amp, whatever you want to call it, and loses 59-55. Now, apparently, when this was a serious game, a duck was brought into the building. All right. And yes, you heard me right. A duck. The duck's name is Dawn, and its owner is Justin Thames, who I'm reading from KRCR TV right now, local ABC affiliate out of Providence. And it says the duck was born and raised in Providence, and this Justin owner, he purchased the male duck 4 months ago and named it Dawn before he knew the sex of the animal, and registered it as a service animal. So this dude brings a duck into a Providence game, which honestly is not shocking whatsoever. But what winds up happening is the duck gets passed into the student section, and it seemingly turns the game around. First
off, stop. It did not turn. A duck didn't turn the game around.
Listen, I'm going to read you.
Things work.
This is exactly what happened. Credit to Nicole Menner, who went out and got the story, the interview with the duck, the interview with Justin Thames, and this is directly from the story. Thames decided to wing it and took Dawn to the Amica Mutual Pavilion on game night. Quote, I thought maybe we could bring some luck to them because we call him Lucky Ducky, he said. Turns out the Friars needed it. Providence was down to Central Connecticut for the majority of the game, but with 2 minutes to play, out came the rally duck. Quote, we brought him here. They were losing the whole time, and then we brought him to the student section, and then the game changed, Thames said. Lucky Duck came into effect. So he does this. It gets, I don't know. I don't want to say it went viral, but it was certainly noticed amongst Big East Twitter, if you will. Well, WJAR, the NBC affiliate, on Thursday has an update. It appears Providence College basketball sensation Dawn the Duck will not be welcomed back to the Amica Mutual Pavilion following its appearance this week at the season opener. This is Larry Lepore, who I actually have met. He helps run the building. I met him last year and got his card in case the Ed Cooley homecoming went wrong. I needed to have someone that I was in close contact with for keeping the building safe. So I've actually know this fella. He said, quote, as much as some people might have thought it was cute, there were other people that we got responses back from the public thinking that it was kind of cruel to the animal. I don't know. I saw some of these highlights, and it all seemed to be in good spirits. I also think this could be curse in Providence this season. You bring a duck into the building; it's considered a service animal. It riled up the fan base. It certainly changed the fortunes of the Friars in game one. You be the judge here, GP. Should they be banning the duck? Is Providence's season done one game in because of this decision?
Join me if you're compelled to. Free the duck. Free the duck. Free the duck. Free the duck.
Free the duck.
Okay.
Free the duck. I'm with you on this. And in fact, I do genuinely believe that it was used as a hashtag on Thursdays.
Listen, when I say the duck did not change the game, I mean that like literally, like the duck has nothing to do with it. But people do believe in this kind of stuff and get excited about it.
Who are you to say?
Well, we just had Grimace for the Mets. Like we did a whole season of Grimace.
Yes,
because
right.
Grimace threw out the first pitch and the Mets got good. And next thing you know, everybody's dressed up as Grimace at Citi Field. I own a Grimace shirt now. I own a Grimace shirt. All right. So people do subscribe to this kind of stuff. I won't say that it's sensible, but I will say it's fun. And if Providence, like if Bryce Hopkins never comes back or comes back and gets hurt, they're going to blame the duck ban. That will be a real thing.
We're going to make contact with the individual to tell him that he's certainly welcome back, but his pet is not, Lepore said. Man, that is just...
Put him in a luxury box. Put the duck in a luxury box.
Seriously, that is the workaround here. I'm being serious about this. Now, whether you believe a duck should be registered as a service animal, I am not. Frankly, I know this can be a hot button issue for a lot of people because of the kind of animals that people are bringing onto planes. I get all that. But to me, if it walks like a duck and talks like it's a duck.
It's a duck.
Get them into... one of the suites at the dunk and just make it happen. I tell you what, if Providence takes on let's look at the schedule here. All right, hold on. Let's bring up this schedule. Providence 1-0, 75th and Ken Palm. It's got Stonehill on Saturday. You tell me Providence loses to Stonehill.
Let Stonehill catch Providence and see what happens.
And
that duck will be courtside.
You're telling
that duck will be courtside for the Hampton game.
English.
Yes,
that duck is the associate head coach.
Did I tell you what I heard about the duck though? For real? You mentioned born and raised in Providence. So it's a local duck.
It's a local duck. Yeah.
I heard. What I heard. I heard it might leave for Georgetown.
Okay.
That's what I heard. I heard it might leave.
If you're Georgetown,
You got to buy the duck and get him to Georgetown.
You got to get that duck to Georgetown.
You got to get that duck to Georgetown.
You got to get that.
What if that's the actual trick to turn around Georgetown's program?
Do not put it past the Biggie psychos to make a mockumentary 7 minutes long on this duck and put it out just like they did on Ed Cooley going to Georgetown.
Don't eliminate the possibility of Ed Cooley showing up at his next press conference carrying a duck, even if it's a rubber duck.
Dude, that duck. Get that duck to Georgetown. Just be careful. Careful what you wish for. Free the duck.
Free the duck.
The duck.
Free the duck. Free the duck.
Free the Final 4-1. Are we ready or what to bring this back?
Up next, it's the season debut of the Final 4-1, which is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. First, though, let's get a word from our sponsor.
And the ball is caught! It's a miracle!
This is how we do where I come from. Yeah, it's going down. You can feel it in the crowd. Type of thing you want to be around.
Jumping up in the air to the 30 with some nifty moves.
Speakers got a little too loud. You know the sound. Got enough to go around. We about to get it, no doubt.
Couldn't wait to get here. It's time. It's the season debut of the Final 4-1, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. You probably know how it works, but if you don't, here's how it works. I picked 4 games from the weekend. I used to avoid Friday games. I was
Again,
steadfast against it.
I showed you the ways.
But I've evolved over the years, and I've grown. I think I've grown as a person. As a podcaster. And so now I don't shy away from Friday games. I pick 4 games. Norlander picks 1. We pick them against the spread. We keep a season-long tally. And if I can be successful again this year, it'll be 7 straight years as me as the victor.
That's incorrect. However, you did beat me last year. Nada, what's our record so far this season?
0-0 at this
Okay.
point.
Good times. But GP did win last year, correct?
He did win last year.
All right. So at GP, I owe you something. We never decided. In fact, I remember going through this a year ago and trying to decide on something, and then we never did. I'll send something your way.
I got something. I just get me a duck, preferably one with New England roots. I wouldn't mind having a duck with New England roots.
How much is it costing me to ship you a duck?
I don't think it should be too. I don't think our ducks has inflation hit ducks the same way it's hit like Kroger.
I'm not sure.
How much does a duck go for these days? Let me just see. How much does a
Give me
duck
that
cost?
I'll blindly guess. I honestly, you're way outside my purview right now. You want to buy yourself a duck these days? I'm gonna say a duck. First of all, I don't even know how you procure a duck. I'm gonna say
I know how. I just figured it out. Exoticmeatmarkets.com.
Okay, well, we're not talking about eating this thing. Although if you want to eat duck, I guess I could send you. Can you DoorDash? Can you DoorDash a duck?
Yeah, I think so.
Can you duck dash? I'll say if you want to buy a duck as a pet, I'm gonna say it's gonna run you $125. I have no idea.
Exoticmeatmarket.com says I can get me a mallard fresh farm raised bird for $99.99 right now.
Are you sure that's not to be eaten?
Well, I mean,
Meat market indicates this thing is like going to the slaughterhouse.
okay. Well, here's another fella selling ducks over here. He's got a black Muscovy duck for $22.87.
Okay.
I might get a black Muscovy.
I drop a baby duck off at your doorstep. You're telling me you're thrilled to have that thing in your life for the next however many months or years?
Oh, we'd have fun with it for a minute. Then we just take it over to the pond.
Don't think that I will not get you a duck.
$22.87.
I got that. You need a toe, dude. I can get you a toe. You need a duck. I can get you a duck.
I'll take a duck. I wouldn't mind a black Muscovy. You know, I've always had my sights set on a black Muscovy. That's how the black Muscovy is where you really get a good bang for your buck. You can get a whole one for $22.87.
That's impressive.
Mallard's gonna run you a little more.
The mallard. It's the main.
Mallard's gonna run you a little more, and I know some of the uppity ups. They like their mallards. I'm more of a black Muscovy guy. Always
Mallard
have
is
been.
the golden retriever of ducks. Everyone knows that. Game 1. Let's.
Okay. I forgot what we were doing.
We are technically supposed to be picking games.
I forgot what we were doing. Okay. Game 1.
Yeah.
My file closed. Game
I
one.
have it. Do you need me to do this?
Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's number 9 North Carolina at number 1 Kansas inside TJ Gasnola Fieldhouse. You can watch it on ESPN2. The number has posted. It's Kansas minus 8.5. That's a big number.
That's the number. It's posted. Okay. I guess we're inside 24 hours here. So it's a big number. These are the number 2 and number 3 all-time teams, by the way, in wins. Kansas ranks number 2, 2,394. North Carolina has 2,373. This series is tied 6-6 all-time. Kansas has won the last 4 times these teams have faced. All 4 times, it was in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, the most recent example being UNC blowing the lead in the title game in 2022. Kansas, to no surprise, by the way, loaded non-conference schedule. So this is first, and they got Michigan State coming. They've got Duke in Las Vegas. They've got Creighton, Missouri. They got some big ones, but this is the first biggie of them. Hunter Dickinson had 16 points and 6 boards, had 3 steals in Kansas's game earlier this week. Floyd Badunga had 13 and 8 boards. Zeke Mayo had 19, hit 5 threes.
Did you notice who barely played?
Lay it on me.
AJ Storr. Came off the bench 15 minutes, and he was 9th on the team in minutes played in the season opener. This is a guy who was, if not the best player, one of the best players on an NCAA tournament team last season. And I don't know, just one game. Don't draw any big conclusions, but it was the second they could get a commitment from AJ Storr, you go ahead and pencil him into the starting lineup. Yeah. He didn't start, and he only played 15 minutes in the season opener.
We'll see where his role lands in this one. Self, by the way, Bill Self is 51-30 against top 10 opponents, while at Kansas, he's 24-4 in those games at home at the Phog. And if he wins this game, speaking of the Phog, he will tie Phog Allen with 590 wins for the most in Kansas history. It took Allen 36 years to get there. This is Self's 22nd season. The number's still too big for me, GP. RJ Davis, see how he can show in this kind of game. Concern about the UNC front line, but I will take Kansas to win. Give me Carolina inside the number. If it was even like 7, I might take KU, but 8.5 is a lot. So I'll go with UNC to at least keep it interesting. It's a tremendous game to get on a Friday. It is on a Friday, but regardless, I love the fact that these two blue bloods who have a lot of connections over the years on a litany of levels, they're well beyond Roy Williams and Dean Smith, that they agreed to a home and home. This is awesome that this is not being played in a neutral site environment. This is right here on campus. And then next year, KU returns it to Chapel Hill.
I'm glad you mentioned Zeke Mayo. Great story. Graduated from Lawrence High School, less than a mile from Allen Fieldhouse. Just wasn't a high major player coming out of high school. Goes to South Dakota State, becomes a proud Jackrabbit, wins Summit League Player of the Year as a junior. And now, how about this? You graduate from Lawrence High School, and as a senior, after being an unheralded recruit upon high school graduation as a senior in college, you are in this moment right now the leading scorer at Kansas, the number 1 ranked team in the country. That's awesome.
That is awesome. That's good stuff there. Hopefully he shows up big in a big-time game against Carolina coming in. You dream of this kind of stuff. I'm going to guess, by the way, that you're with me. I feel like...
Yeah, it's just, I got North Carolina. Even North Carolina fans been telling me for 5 months that the Tar Heels stink. I've got them on the way. So I'm just rooting for me, right? I need North Carolina to not get embarrassed, because all the people have been telling me North Carolina stinks all offseason. He's going to be like, hey, idiot, we tried to tell you, and I ain't trying to hear that so early in the season. So do I think Kansas will win at home? I literally always think Kansas will win at home. But 8.5 points, that's a big number. I'll take the Tar Heels plus the points. Game 2, Saturday, noon Eastern. It's number 12 Tennessee at Louisville inside the Brian Bowen Center. You can watch it on the ACC network. Ken Palm has it. Tennessee -1.
Shortly before we went live on the show, I don't know the context of this, but I'll share it anyway. I saw on Twitter, apparently some Louisville fan was able to go and buy 500 tickets to this game, and I guess was giving them out in some kind of way. That's a big building. KFC Yum Center, hosts regionals and all that stuff for the NCAA tournament. It's a big building. Louisville fans, you going to show up to this? Like, are you going to sell out this game? Is it going to be close to a sellout?
Yeah, I think it's going to be packed. But I did gather that the attendance in the opener was, I just saw some people mention it was they believed it was disappointing, and then I went and looked up the number. Reportedly, it was 12,000 people. I mean, that sells out most college basketball places.
Yeah, it's a big building.
And you're playing Morehead State. You're like a 22-point favorite. You win it by 48. Like, how many people are supposed to show up to watch you beat somebody by 50 points?
Yeah, I don't know. But hey, it was. There were enough empty seats that it caught Kelsey's attention, and he felt obligated to address it in the post game. One game into his career, and I think it'll be well attended. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just wondering if they're going to come close to selling it out. And by the way, Tennessee fans, it's football season. Don't get me wrong. I'm well aware of the score here, and Tennessee's got a good team. But you're playing at Louisville. It's an intriguing game. I want to see how this rolls here. What did you say the line was?
Tennessee -1.
That's. Got a couple of really good defensive guards in this one. Zakai Ziegler, first team All SEC guy, defensive player of the year in the league last season. Chucky Hepburn, obviously a really good defender there. Chaz Lanier, first game on a big stage against a big opponent. He comes over from North Florida, and he's looking to be, if not Dalton Connect, obviously one of the more impactful scoring guards on the transfer market to the up transfer at Tennessee. Felix Oxpara also in the middle for UT. I'm intrigued by this game, no doubt about it. As you said, Louisville beat Morehead State with ease. This is different. You get Tennessee in your building, though. Can they keep it competitive? Line suggests that's the case. Man, a win in this spot for Louisville's fan base would be unreal. I mean, you want to talk about a turnaround. I don't think it's going to happen, though, and the line's too small. I will take Tennessee to win and to cover.
Louisville jumped 10 spots after one game at KenPom from 64th to 54th. The leading scorer was Kason Pryor, just another interesting transfer. He was at USF last season. So he started at Boise State and did basically nothing there. Just did 2 years at Boise State of just nothing. Goes to USF, and then last season averages like 13 and 8 for the American Athletic Conference champions. Moves to Louisville, and then he got 18 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and a block in only 20 minutes against Morehead State. He's a fun player. So, Pat did a nice job, getting that roster to a place where they should be able to be respectable. And I'm going to believe in that building on Saturday. I think it's going to be great, packed. And I think Pat Kelsey's going to get his first big win at Louisville.
Look at you, straight up, right away. Not messing around.
I'll take Louisville plus the point. Game 3, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It's number 8 Baylor versus number 16 Arkansas inside the Luka Doncic Center in Dallas. You can watch it on ESPNU. KenPom's got it. Baylor -1.
Just for our listeners, they're playing this game, just so we're clear, they're playing this game where the Mavericks play.
That's right.
Yeah, Arkansas, I watched a lot of the game against Lipscomb. They had actually some issues early on. Eventually, they figured it out. They were only 4 of 19 from three-point range against the Bison. Nelly Davis, 15 points on 7 of 12 shooting. Boogie Flan had 17, although only 1 of 8 from three-point range, kind of contributed to that anemic performance from deep there. Solid enough game 1, It kind of was what it was. Calipari had a typically, Calipari post-game presser. There was a thing that got shared viral. Someone local went and
It's like I watched that. I saw the same thing you saw, I'm sure. It looked like I've seen that press conference
I know
1,000 times.
But here's my thing, Parrish. That is like after the 8th game or the 17th game when he probably would again, the clip was void of a lot of context because it was specifically cut up to every weird noise and sentence and interaction that Calipari had maybe over the course of 14 minutes. He truly was in mid-season form, and dude, you just beat Lipscomb by 16 points. Kentucky fans watching that were like, "Thank God,
that's exactly
I'm freed."
I mean, I went into the replies, and it was Kentucky fans being like, "I'm so glad we're not dealing with this anymore." Brendan Quinn had a really nice story in The Athletic. Went to Fayetteville and spent time with John, and it was just sort of interesting. When you get pushed out of Kentucky under humbling circumstances, you would think, in one of your first big profiles, you'd be like, I learned a lot from that experience, and I realized I got to adapt. And there just wasn't a lot of that in there at all. And then Arkansas out game 1, 4 of 19 from 3. It just we'll see how it goes. Boogie Flan was good. He got 17 points. This should be a fun game. I think I'll take Baylor. Buddy, I don't know why after what I watched against Gonzaga, but I'm just gonna believe that Baylor isn't gonna drop to 0-2 with a loss in its home state to a lower ranked team. We'll see.
We talked on Columbia to start the show. The last time Columbia started 2-0 against D1 competition was 2005. 2005 was also the last time Baylor started 0-2. That would be the case if it drops the game here. Jeremy Roach obviously running point, I think, is the biggest factor here. But I also think that Jaden Nunn's presence, his speed, it's been around the program for a few years now. Like, I think he's the secret sauce in this game. I almost wonder if they need him to be the one that counteracts Janelle Davis. And then VJ Edgecombe. I mean, he scored 4 points, half of them on Joe Few's head on Monday night in garbage time. How will he show up in a game where, highly ranked freshmen going against other highly ranked freshmen? Just a lot of guys involved in this game who when they were 16, 17, 18 years old, considered among the best in their age group. So that intrigues me as well. Also, Jonas Adu only played 7 minutes against Lipscomb. So I'm interested on that. I'm with you, though. Give me Baylor. I will take Baylor to win and cover. But either way, no matter how this game goes, by any point total and whoever's on the winning and losing side, we'll definitely be talking about this on Sunday night. There's definitely a lot of intrigue regardless of how it comes out.
Game 4, Saturday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. It's number 11 Auburn versus number 4 Houston inside the Hakeem Olajuwon Center down in Houston. So we're doing this off campus. You can watch it on ESPNU. KenPom has it Houston -2. And did you realize, as of today, this is a game between the teams ranked first and second at KenPom?
Trivia time.
Okay, let's go.
This goes back to 2011, 2012. How many times, including this game, have we gotten 1 versus 2 in KenPom since 2011, 2012?
I think 6.
This is the 9th time. The number 2 team is 5-3 in those instances. The most recent example of this was Purdue UConn in the championship game just 7 months ago. Frankly, I don't know why this isn't on campus. This is just the way this goes sometimes. It would have been great if it was, but we get the game. And by the way, this is number 1 versus number 2 because of the way that Auburn absolutely tore apart a Vermont team that was 2 days removed from winning at UAB. Apparently emptied the tank because, good God, 94-43 over what might be one of the 10 best mid-major teams in the country this season.
Yeah, Vermont went down to Alabama like they do in the Robert Trent Jones Trail. They said, we'll play UAB, we'll play Auburn. Let's get them a game with Alabama State, too.
My gosh, man. Both these teams are coming off destructive wins. I mean, Houston beat Jackson State 97-40. Auburn did what it did. Janai Broome played well. Janai Broome, by the way, two big-time big men playing here in our Final Four and 1. Broome and Hunter Dickinson are the only active D1 players with 2,000 points and 1,000 boards. So, and obviously intrigued to see what Broome does in this one. Is he going to get matched on Juwan Roberts, or will it be Joseph Tugler? That's a fascinating one. And I also wonder if Houston doesn't have the advantage here with the guards, LJ Cryer, Emmanuel Sharp, Milos Uzan really seems like he's going to fit in well as a complementary piece. Auburn's got Denver Jones, JP Pegues, Chad Baker Mazzara. He's a bigger wing type there. I mean, I'm interested to see how the matchups go there. Pearl had like a dozen guys play double-digit minutes because he could do it against Vermont. So that rotation is going to get pared down just a little bit in this one. But it is, this is one hell of a matchup. Kansas Carolina, it's on campus. It's Friday night. It's 2 blue bloods. It's going to get the most attention. It should. But this one's the better game in terms of what we have going in, and the fact that it is quasi-neutral at least puts it much more in doubt, and the line is reflective of that, or at least the projected line at KenPom. Hell of a treat, man. I love this. I love this matchup. Houston trying to continue to assert its dominance. Preseason number 1 in the metrics, 125 wins in D1 the past 4 years. That's more than anyone else in the country. And let's see how Auburn shoots in this game, GP. This was from our CBS Sports Research team. Houston's defense last season was number 1 in points per game allowed, 57.6, and it was number 1 in opponent field goal percentage at 37.9%. It was the first. I didn't realize this, and if we talked about it, I forgot about it. But Houston last season, in leading the nation in scoring defense and field goal percentage defense, was the first program to do that in both of those categories in 40 years. I think Houston's going to be ready. I think that has a great chance to be an awesome game. Auburn fans, I know you know how I rank your team. I will be giving them so much damn love if they can pull this off. And I really, really want to see a competitive game here. I think we're going to get one, but I'll take Houston to win and Houston to kind of keep Auburn at arm's length, once we get to the under 4 timeout.
Yeah, I'll keep it simple. I just can't pick against Houston, only laying 2 points in Houston. Maybe against anybody. Like really maybe against anybody. So, it's a basketball game.
They're going to play a basketball game. That's right.
They're going to play a basketball game.
That's correct.
If you're wondering if you were wondering why you were here for expert analysis, they're going to play a basketball game.
I wonder if the line is more than that when it comes to that, because we're going off projected.
I would assume that it will be a little more than that. I bet you when the line closes, it'll be like Houston minus 3.5, something like that. But we're taking it at 2, and I'll lay 2 points with Houston. And if it goes the wrong way, I believed in Kelvin Sampson in his hometown. In his adopted hometown. That's usually a smart thing to do.
We'll talk about it regardless. Let's get to, before the N1, as usual, I'll give you a quick couple heads up on some games to know. GP, as he mentioned, he is in Annapolis, Maryland. And actually, you got a football game happening not too far from you as we speak.
If I would have even connected those dots, a month ago when I booked this flight, I would have come in early and gone to the game tonight.
Yeah, that you actually should have done that, GP. Yeah, but I understand why you didn't.
I genuinely didn't even know that was happening until I was preparing for the GP show this morning.
And you're like, damn, they gotta. And it's a good game. So CBS Sports Network got a triple header on Friday. VCU versus Boston College, 6:00 Eastern, CBS Sports Network. Harvard at Navy at 8:30 approximately, and then definitely an intriguing game on the second best game of Friday night is New Mexico against UCLA. That's in Henderson, Nevada. Tip time expected to be 11 Eastern. You better believe I'm staying up and watching that one. New Mexico, we mentioned it on our Best of the Rest. Actually, across all the predictive metrics that we follow, was on balance, on aggregate, if you will, the best rated Mountain West team heading into the season. UCLA, a lot of people, and frankly, the predictives also believing in UCLA making a huge turnaround. Well, you got a good opportunity there, so that's a good one there on Friday. Saturday games to know that we're not putting in the Final Four in one. Northwestern plays against Dayton. I happen to believe that Dayton's a lot better than Northwestern, so I look forward to be proven wrong and look like an idiot per usual. But that's a tasty game there at 7:30 on ESPN Plus. You've got Memphis against UNLV. It's actually at UNLV at 6:00 on Saturday. Notable game for both programs, unquestionably. A game that if either of these teams are in the at-large picture, a win will mean a lot. And frankly, a loss here could, even though Memphis is on the road in a true road environment, you want to pick that one off. And then a sneaky good mid-major game. Also, that's in a road environment there. We've got Boise State playing at San Francisco. That's a good game there. So shouts to both those programs. I think both of them should have the goods to be in the NCAA tournament conversation, if nothing else. But the N1 Sunday. 1 Eastern on ESPN2. I'm going to have to two-screen this up here in the office, GP. I got my Bears and Patriots going up on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And then Michigan against Wake Forest. The game is in Greensboro on Randolph-Childress Court. I don't know why this couldn't be played in Winston-Salem. Whatever. Ken Palm has it at Michigan -2. You go first.
I think these are comparable teams. Like if I went outside the top 25 and won and started trying to do another 10, they'd both be in there and they'd be right next to each other. Where did you have them in your 101? I know you had Wake higher.
My dome. I want to. I'm higher. As coincidence would have it, GP. I think I am higher on these two teams than anyone in college basketball media and any predictive metric. I had Wake Forest 12 and Michigan 18, 17, like higher than anyone else, and a tremendous matchup. Just a total. If you're, someone that's going to build a lot of your Sunday still around NFL football, I totally get it. So will I. But to get a Michigan Wake Forest game, I think both these teams are going to easily be single-digit seeds when we get to Selection Sunday. This is an awesome bonus on Sunday.
Yeah. Just Wake in the state of North Carolina. Hunter Salas, maybe best player on the court.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Wake plus points.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry, Dusty. Don't record this and then play it back to me in
it's
like
too late.
4 years. I don't need to.
Too late.
I
In
don't
fact,
need to go through that again.
why don't you even more emphatically pick against Dusty May right now?
No, I do this with great reservations. Okay, I find no joy in doing this. Those are two of my favorite guys too, in terms of coaches. Right? Everybody loves Dusty May. Everybody loves Steve Forbes. But comparable teams. I get 2 points with Wake, and they're in the state of North Carolina.
I don't think I can ever remember you picking Dusty May's teams ever. I don't think it's ever happened.
I'm doing it next Friday.
Michigan, by the way, beat Cleveland State 101-53. Danny Wolf. I had him on our top 101 players list, but he didn't break through. 19 points, 13 boards, 3 blocks, 3 steals, 5 turnovers. That's a hell of a debut. Vlad Golden, who was considered in the eyes of many to be the better player. Maybe that will bear out. He only had 2 points earlier this week. But I like that Michigan roster a ton. Wake Forest is coming off of Wake Forest dropped. We talked about how Nova dropped. Wake Forest won, but it dropped 16 spots because it only beat Coppin State by 15 points. Coppin State's projected to be like a bottom 30 team in the entire sport. We'll see. Omaha Billieu played well there, but this game's about Hunter Salas. And are you going to show up and dictate the conversation in this one, along with Cameron Hildreth, who among the more underrated players in the ACC, probably Afton Reed. This is just really fun game. I am also going to go against Michigan and join you in picking Wake Forest here to get the win and get the cover. But if you're going off of how each team looked in their first game of the season, regardless of the venue here, you would take Michigan. But I picked Wake Forest to be the better team going into the season to get the game relatively nearby. I'll go with the Demon Deacons to get a big W.
All right. That is the final 4-1 brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. I think that's a Thursday night podcast.
That'll a show.
That'll double as a Friday morning. And I saw somebody on Twitter within the past week or so ask, like, are we going to be true to our normal schedule? Yes, eventually.
We're trying. I know. You know what I got to do? I gotta stop saying we're going to do shows on days when we're not doing shows. But I didn't know when I said, hey, listen, here's the deal. We're getting back into the Sunday, Wednesday, Friday routine. I didn't realize at the time that you were going to be in Annapolis. And then even when I did, I was like, okay. And then you're like, I got shoot around. So that's why you're getting a Thursday night special. And for the Friday commuters, you're welcome. You didn't have to wait as long. But typically, as is convention here, we will try and do those on Friday mornings. But scheduling, travel sometimes gets in the way.
The plan will be Sunday nights, Wednesday mornings, Friday mornings. But we'll have to adjust when one of us is traveling. That will typically be the schedule. And if anything changes from week to week, we'll be sure to let you know. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Terry Teagle, legend, Huck, Larnell.
Huck and the Duck. Shouts to the Duck.
Free the Duck.
Free the Duck. Free the duck.
Are you a chicken?
No, I'm a duck.
I'm a duck too. Free the duck. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts. Apple, Spotify. There's more of us than there are of them. That should be reflected in the comments. So please do that. We'll talk to you again real soon. Till then, take care.